Hi, welcome to another YouTube video, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing my first job experience in NZ right after I graduated. So, let's get started. I'll take you through the entire process, as in starting from day 1 when I started applying to jobs, which was in November. So in November I gave my final assignment, and post that there was a job fair at my university. Didn't have much luck there because too many people and too many recruiters and too many schools. So it was more like a networking event, but less to do with real job offers and things like that. But I had already started reaching out to recruitment agencies, schools, centers, kindergartens, and mind you, I had applied, if I remember, I had put in CVs and cover letters. NZ has a very strict format when it comes to applying with cover letters. If you write a cover letter is when they actually pick up your CV or your application. That's what at least my experience has been. And so I had started the process. I was already making applications, and I made some 140 or 150 applications, and I was getting interviews. In fact, I even got one of my first job offers that I got was in Queenstown, and it was a very good pay, like $25 or something. And I remember I was very happy, but the only problem was they'd asked me obviously to relocate as soon as possible. And I knew in my heart that Queenstown was not a place that I could really survive in, because it's got a town vibe and not a city vibe. That is what I really enjoy and like. So I had to decline that offer. But nonetheless, I kept up my process, and then I went via a recruitment agency, and they got me a couple of interviews. They took me through that entire screening process, and after giving quite a few interviews, I think I gave minimum 5 or 6 interviews, if I can recall properly. And I went to different schools, like to far off places from where I was living. And it was just the need in me that was kind of persistently pushing me to apply wherever I could, because I really needed a job to go ahead and carry on with my expenses and my life in NZ. And I thankfully interviewed for this particular role, which I ended up getting. And so this preschool that I was at, which was an early childhood center, and it was a Pacifica community focused center, where there was not a very big space, but it was like almost a long hall which was sectioned into different parts. There was an under twos room, a sleep room, a bathroom, a general sitting area, a playground outside with a sand pit. Then there was a little dining area, a small open kitchen, and a very, very tiny sitting area for teachers. And I don't know why, but I can't recall if there was a bathroom. I'm sure there was a bathroom, but I can't remember where that bathroom was for teachers. Anyways, so that's what the entire center was designed to be. And I got my interview with that center in January, and I was interviewed by 3 ladies. One was the assistant manager, then was the regional manager, and one person was the operations manager, if I can recall properly. And they asked me multiple questions, my teaching philosophy, gave me situational what if tasks based questions. And they also gave me a take home assignment where I had to write a learning story. Now, learning stories are a very, very significant part of your teaching work, which I'll talk about in another video. But that's what they gave me. They gave me a sample, and they told me that have a look at this. Then they gave me a situation. They were like, go back home, write it and email it back to us, which I did within an hour or so of getting back home. And post that, I got an offer within a day or two. And I wouldn't complain. My pay was great compared to what I had heard from my peers. I was getting paid like $23 point something per hour for a fresh graduate. That's a really good pay, I had heard. And yeah, that's how my first job's journey began. And of course, like we all are very enthusiastic with our first job, I was very, very excited. And even though I had to change 2 buses to get there, I still remember I used to go from Riccarton to Hornby, and then from Hornby I used to take another bus. So yeah, there was a lot of travel involved, and to get to my center in time, I had to leave close to 2 hours before. So if I was on the opening shift, then it used to be way too early in the morning, and the winter mornings used to really, really get to me. But nonetheless, I was motivated and I wanted to, make a mark and, be seen as that girl who's got the right, personality for being a teacher. So yeah, I gave it my best, and the first week was great. I was getting to know everybody, introducing myself to parents, the children, of course my teachers, and getting to know the environment. But slowly and steadily, as the second week started, things began to change. Now what I started noticing was, first up, the duties that came my way. Now, generally, when you work as a reliever or as a teacher aide, you are expected to do certain menial tasks more than sitting with the children, interacting with the children. So, what I started seeing was that I was given more such menial tasks. I wouldn't say menial, but yeah, they were less to do with letting me build a relationship with the children and their families, but more for me to kind of, make the life easy for other teachers while they had that time with the children. So I was okay in the beginning doing all of that, which was, packing up the playground, raking the sandpit, cleaning the leaves off, setting up the toys, getting the toys back in, putting the rubbish out, and general hygiene and stuff like that, cleaning surfaces. So I was okay with it in the beginning, but slowly and steadily I started seeing that this was turning into a pattern where I was just always expected to do all of this, and there was never a moment where I was told to actually sit with a child, communicate, take my time to get to know them, read their portfolios, just gather information about them, because I thought that that's my main job. Like, all of this is something that's not rocket science, but building that rapport and relationship is going to take time. So yeah, I kind of started feeling a bit off about it, and I did bring it up with my manager, and I told her that, hey, I think that, I should be spending some time with the children, because since I've come, I've not really had the opportunity. And if I can, get more opportunity, it would be great. And of course, she respectfully listened to me, but nothing was done about it. Like, yeah, but whatever. So this kind of did not go down well with me. But nonetheless, I was just, thinking that maybe this is what happens at every place. And post that, I moved ahead to notice that most teachers were asked what shifts they wanted to do, whereas I was told what shift I should be doing. Now, I don't know if it was because I was the youngest in the lot. I was just 22, 23 years old, and rest everybody was like 27. Somebody was in their 40s, like pretty older than me. So I just started observing that even the relievers who were long time relievers over there, they were too asked if they could, do a certain shift or not. But I started noticing that everybody is just telling me which shift I should do. And then it became a sort of a pattern where I was constantly doing opening shifts, closing shifts, opening shifts, closing shifts. And this obviously felt like not right, because I thought that, they are not respectfully asking me like everybody else is being asked. And eventually I decided that I should, talk to them about this. But then I thought that, well, if my first attempt was not really, given any regard, why would they consider this one? So I didn't say anything much. But when these things, eventually started getting on top of each other, it started getting to me. And every small thing that came my way that was probably not something that I thought was very kind or respectful was magnified in my brains, or in my heart, or in my mind. And I don't think that was wrong, because for a 23-year-old girl who's so new, so fresh, has no background, just a teaching degree, she should be supported. But more than supported, it was more about, just do your own thing. And I remember in the second week, I was told to change nappies, and I was just shown how one of it is done, with nobody supervising me that how I was really doing it. And there were days where I was on nappy duty for the under twos, for the preschoolers, from morning till evening. And I remember, like, on those days I used to have like just a half an hour lunch break, and I didn't even feel like eating my food, because it was just something that was coming as a shock to me. It was not like I didn't expect myself to change nappies, because you obviously, when you're interning and in your placements, you're not allowed to change nappies, but that's a part of the care duty. But just the way it was thrown at me, with no amount of support, supervision, mentorship, okay, this is correct, this is bad, or maybe let me give you a hand, or anybody just stepping in. Like, even with teachers, generally it used to be that for under twos, the respective teacher would come and change it for them. But it became so that, if I was in the duty, they would just like, what, you do it. And I kind of did not like the entire process, and that's what happened. I started seeing a lot of these things, and how one thing goes on and then adds to that entire mountain of things you're already feeling. So that's what my situation was like. And I found it a little difficult to communicate to people. I didn't feel like there were people who wanted to talk to me, or I could have an open conversation. Then there were nights where we had meetings, and I clearly remember one of the meetings where I said that, I do not eat a certain kind of meal, and everybody ended up just getting that for dinner during the meeting. And it was just it was bizarre to me that, okay, I just told you that I don't eat this, but that's what you got. And I didn't end up eating anything, but it's not a big deal. But it's about respect. And for a person like me, respect is very important. It's nothing for me is more important than being respected in the job that I'm giving my everything to. I'm showing up, whether sick or whether happy. And if you can't give me that respect, I don't think I can really, stay on for long. Like, that's the person I am. If there's no respect, I don't care about the money you're giving me. I need to have my space to speak, to feel like I'm a part of the team. So yeah, eventually I started noticing all these things, and I knew that, it's not my jazz really. I want to like get out of here. And I started looking for different jobs, and looking out. And there was also fear in me that they'll all these people who look at my CV will be like, oh, she's just 1 month into her job and she's already applying to different jobs. Something is not good. So I did have that fear, but then what's the point of holding on to your fear? Your fears will always hold you back. And I went ahead, kept my application process going, and in between all this happened the Christchurch attacks of 2019. Now, during that time, I don't know if you have seen or heard the news, but there was a shooter on the loose who went and, um, out of hatred and violence, went and attacked on a mosque in Christchurch, and a lot of innocent lives were lost and harmed that day. And I was at school working that day, and once we got the news that the shooter is on the loose and we need to go into lockdown, so that was a very very different experience for me, where we had about 7-8 kids. And I remember calling my elder sister and telling her that, hey, we're going in lockdown, I hope you're safe. And she was actually driving back home from her workplace, but she had not realized what had happened. So, yeah, that happened, where I remember spending about 3 to 4 hours in a closed space. So, the first half, we were in the baby area and the sleep room area with our children. With I think we had 2 under 2s, and then a bunch of preschoolers, and we were about 3 teachers. And yeah, it was something that you wouldn't expect to have faced right in your first year as a teacher in NZ, but it happened. And then from that space, when we were told to do a complete lockdown, where obviously we had all our windows, doors, everything shut, and we were told to go in the bathroom. And I still remember one thing: I had gone to get my phone from my locker from the teacher's room. And I still remember, like, while I was coming back, my manager looked at me and she said that, Sanya, you shouldn't be visible. You shouldn't be visible, like, because, your skin. So, yeah, you don't want anything to happen to you, right? Safety first. And whatever. I didn't note it then, but when we went in that bathroom with all the children locked and sitting there, I realized that, oh my god, I was literally told that you could be attacked because you have a different skin color. And, it wasn't definitely told in a bad way, but, it made me feel different from the others that day. And anyways, we were in the room, and we were all trying to connect with our families. And I remember calling my parents, and I told them that we're all safe and fine, but we are in a lockdown, and I'll call you when things are better. And yeah, we were there for a couple of hours, after which we were listening to information on the radio. And once it was said that, okay, you can get out of your lockdown, we all almost just immediately rushed to our homes. And my manager was kind enough, she dropped me home. So because I generally take the bus. But yeah, that was one experience that came out of nowhere while I was planning my exit from that job. And eventually what happened was that, post that incident, even though things became a little different, because we started looking at each other with a lot of empathy, I think something changed in the air post that incident. And there was a lot of sense of support there was a lot of understanding for each other that was growing and taking place. But I really did not feel like I wanted to stay there or I wanted to continue in the role, because not just all this, but also the fact that on the days that I felt sick at my first job, and I did call in that, I'm not feeling well or I can't make it, I remember how I was, approached with more of a doubt and a question than a kind of take care. Yeah, I understand. I was told that, oh, are you sure? Because we don't have cover for you. So I just didn't really get that environment and that vibe where I was like, even when I'm not feeling well, I am being told to come, and I had to come. I had no option, and I was not really strong enough to stand my ground for my health, I would say. And I had to turn up. I used to be sick quite a bit because the children used to be sick. Somebody had a cough, a cold, fever, sneezing, runny noses. So all the germs would eventually come to you. And no matter how many flu shots you take, you will fall sick, because that's the proximity and the environment you're working in. And also, I think when you are not feeling well within, all these physical, sickness gets to you faster. So I basically just ended up feeling sick a lot of the days. And I remember 1 or 2 days I had even asked my sister that, please come and pick me up. I can't. This is just not happening. Like, I had pushed myself to go to work, and I just found myself like in the worst state possible, where I remember one day I had an almost fainting spell. And it's terrible. All I'm going to tell you, that whichever job you're in, prioritize your health first. Don't ever think that your health is secondary, because one thing I know, it's a Hindi phrase which is jaan hai to jahan hai. So please remember to take care of yourself first, than prioritizing what others will be thinking if you take a day off because you're not feeling well. Anyways, so that was what it was like, my first job. And I must say that what I had expected, it was not like that. I did not have much time to catch up on what the school's policies were, did not have much time to build relationship with children. I was just constantly busy cleaning, tidying, completing. I started getting opportunities to do my paperwork, but then that used to be so less. And I still remember the internet used to work so slow. I think there was some issue over there, that I used to end up doing like 1 or 2 learning stories, and that's not my speed. So I used to end up taking work home. And that is what my first job looked like. And my contract was actually ending in March. So because of my student visa requirements or whatever it was at that point of time, my contract was from Jan to March 31st. And then post that, I would get my open work visa, which they had told that they would extend me a full-time permanent offer. So the time came, they did get back to me with a full-time offer, but that was also my time to think about a lot of things. So I told them that give me some time, I'll get back to you. And I was waiting for another offer. I had interviewed in another place in Auckland, and I was really hoping that I would make it there. The position was very interesting because it had come through from somebody who I already knew, and she had already told me that if you ever want to work in such a school in this city, then do let me know. And I had interviewed for that position with the curriculum leader in that school, and it had gone well. They were all very happy. and I was waiting on the offer from them. So yeah, then came the offer from their end, and I was given a good salary hike. I remember it was something like 25 or 26, something like that. And I still remember I was jumping with joy. It was like a big relief to me, because the only thing that I wanted at that point was a job offer that was good and that would get me out of that situation. So this came as a relief, big relief. And once I accepted that offer, signed my paperwork and everything, I obviously declined this offer. And at the current school, the first job that I was at, and then I went and spoke to my manager, and I told her that, hey, I have declined the offer, and I've also put in my resignation. That, and because I had to give like a 2 weeks notice, so just calculating that, I gave a 14-day notice to them, and I told them that I won't be continuing. Obviously that came as a shocker to them. They weren't expecting it. And I was very polite, and I was very grateful to them in my resignation, because they were the first people who gave me the opportunity when I did not have the experience. So there's obviously that gratitude that I have, and I will always be thankful to them for that. But yeah, you have to take decisions in life that sometimes serve you right, while might not make others happy. And in spite of the gratefulness for them, I had to step back from that role. And yeah, they were pretty surprised. But I remember there was the operations manager also spoke to me that, are you sure? Is there something that you want to talk about? And I was like, no, it's all good, but I've just got a better offer in a city that I've always wanted to go to. And actually Auckland was a place that I always wanted to go to, and I had always thought that I would be sitting in front of the Sky Tower and sipping a cup of coffee, and one of those dreams I had. And this felt like a step closer to that dream, that I would get to live in Auckland. So yeah, it happened. And I gave in my notice, I moved out. I had to put a strong fight of sorts, I would say, for my certificate of service. Now in New Zealand, you don't really have these what do you say, service letters or recommendation letters and things like that, like we have in India. There it's more like your next employer will call your ex-employer or send them a form to know about you. But I remember my contract said something like a certificate of service or something like that was mentioned. So I pushed for that, and after like a couple of email rounds, I had to go to higher up people in the chain, and then finally I was given a certificate of service letter. And yeah, it all turned out to be great. And soon after, in March, I wrapped up my first job, said all my goodbyes, and in April, on April 10th, I would say, April 10th or 11th of 2019, I moved to Auckland. And yeah, that was my first jobs experience, and I really hope you liked listening to it. It helped give you some perspective, and if not, then it just came out as a good story for you, maybe. But yeah, I'll see you soon, and have a great weekend. Bye.